Disclaimer, gambling involves risk. Please only gamble with funds that you can comfortably afford to lose. All bets mentioned on the show are simply opinion. We cannot be held responsible for any loss that may be incurred as a result of gambling. Be sure to set loss limits and stick to them. Make sure to read and understand your state's gambling laws and adhere to them.
A lot of gamblers out there, man.
What else can we bet on?
The thrill of victory.
Let's get ready to
gamble responsibly.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 3 of Big Bet Energy. I'm your host, Ace, and I am very excited for what we got coming up this week. If you remember, every week I'm going to give you 7 picks, and if I get all 7 picks right, then one random person who comments on that video gets $100. Last week I gave you 7 picks. We hit 5 of the 7. I severely underestimated how bad Oregon State was, so because they literally couldn't score against Texas Tech, we did not hit the over. And then I saw all the controversy with the tush push. Part of me wishes that they had tush pushed just a little bit more so that we could have hit the over on the Chiefs-Eagles game, but it ended up being a defensive affair, and that's okay. It was still a good game to watch. If you trailed all 7 of those picks last week, 1 unit each, then you are currently up 4.38 units, which means that if you bet $10 per bet, if $10 is your unit, then you would be up $43.80. Pretty good. When I'm looking at picks, I'm looking at stats, I'm looking at research, and I'm looking at vibes, and we had very good vibes last week. I want to keep that luck rolling into this week. I want to go 7 for 7. Remember, all the picks that are going to be on the 7 picks that count towards the 7 for 7 are going to be 1 unit picks. That means whatever your unit that you bet usually on a bet is, that's your unit. Say it's $5, say it's $1, say it's $100. Whatever you would normally put on just a line you feel good about, that is your unit. So stick to that. Remember to set limits. Do not go over. We're trying to have fun here. Last week we had fun. Let's have fun this week. I figure that since it went well last week, we're going to follow the same exact equation, and we're going to go and get right into Thursday Night Football. In case you didn't know, in the description, I put chapters for every part of this episode. So if you want to see just the college football picks, you can skip to that. If you want to see just the NFL picks, you can skip to that. If it's already past Thursday Night Football and you don't need this DFS pick, you can skip past it. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I want to make sure that this episode is exactly what you need and exactly what you want. So go ahead. All right, going into our daily fantasy picks, obviously these are going to be on apps like Prize Picks or Underdog. If you're using a different app, the odds won't show up here, but you can still do the same picks. I'm going to give you 3 player props, all 3 of these player props into one parlayed daily fantasy pick. That is going to be the first of the 7 picks. So even though there's 3 legs to it, this is just 1 pick. That first leg is going to be James Cook, the Bills running back, over his receiving yards. Now, whether you're on Prize Picks or Underdog, this line should be at 11.5. That means as long as he gets 12 yards in the air, he's going to hit it. Now, you may be looking at last week when they played the Jets and you're thinking he only got 1 reception for 3 yards. Yes, but he also put up 100 and something on the ground because the Jets were not blocking the run game. Now, the Dolphins have a little bit better of a run defense, and in week 1, James Cook put up 58 yards in the air with 5 receptions. So I think that this line is a little bit low. I think they're looking at last week, and the sportsbooks are like, they didn't really use him in the pass game, but I think that's wrong. I think that this is a pretty safe bet. James Cook is a great running back. He's usually a top 5 running back in fantasy if you're into that. So I would definitely say this is a good line. The second line we're going to look at is going to be Tua Tagovailoa over his passing yards. Now, this feels like a no-brainer. The Bills should rout the Dolphins. I know that they're division rivals, and you always say that when it's a rivalry, records are out the window. But I think that the Dolphins are that bad this season. If you're on Prize Picks, the line is at 238.5. If you're on Underdog, the line should be at 233.5. Obviously, I would prefer to take the 233 because it's lower and we're taking the over. But I think that the Bills are going to get up. I think the entire second half, Tua is just going to be airing it out as long as he doesn't get concussed. And he should hit this line. Last week, he threw over 300 yards, and that was a game that they were legitimately in for most of the time. So if they're from behind, I think that they're going to stop going for field goals. I think that they're going to go for it on 4th downs, and I think they're going to air it out, especially because they have Tyreek, they have Jalen Waddle, they have Devon Achane. I think that they are going to be putting it in the air, and I think Tua should hit this line. The last line, just like last week, I'm going with a kicker, and I'm going with the kicker of the team I think is going to win, just like I did last week. Last week, we had Brandon McManus over 1.5 field goals. He hit that. He hit 2. This week, I'm going with Matt Prater.
I'm serious, man. Matt Prater? I pray to you, brother.
Matt Prater has been in this league for so long, dude. His kids are probably as old as most of the dudes that he's playing with on the Bills right now. But I love him. I think that because the Bills are going to be up, I think they're going to be more willing to play conservatively. They get into the red zone at a very high frequency if you want stats. And when they do that, they don't always hit the end zone. And it's against a division rival. I think they're going to kick field goals. I think Matt Prater should hit this 1.5 line on PrizePicks or Underdog at field goals made because he's already hit 6 on the year, so he's averaging 3 per game. I pray to you, Matt Prater. If all 3 of these player props hit, then our first pick of 7 has hit. We hit all 3 last week. I put money on it. I don't know if you put money on it, but I made a pretty good little nest egg that I'm going to use this week on my picks. These 3 player props I do like. I've watched the games. I've looked at the stats. I really do think that these 3 should hit, but that's just my opinion. With that, let's move on to college football. The first game is going to be Thursday night during the Thursday night football game. So if it's past Thursday night, just skip ahead to the next game. Thursday night, we have the Rice Owls playing the 49ers. Which 49ers? Charlotte 49ers. Right now, Rice is rushing for over 240 yards per game, while their quarterback is putting up 70 yards per game. They're looking like a military academy out here, but they're absolutely dominating the line of scrimmage, and I don't think that Charlotte's run defense is going to be up for this task. And while they're only throwing for 70 yards a game, they're completing over 70% of their passes, so they're playing very smart, they're playing technically. So Rice's strategy this week is going to be get ahead, stay ahead, control the clock with the run game. Charlotte is the exact opposite. This is a team that is absolutely airing it out. They're only averaging 90 rush yards a game, and they're averaging over 200 pass yards per game. But a lot of their rush yards are coming from their quarterback. So if Rice is able to stay disciplined, which they're already showing because they're rushing so much, if they're able to stay disciplined on defense, they should be able to hold Connor Harrell, the quarterback for Charlotte, and if they can keep him within the pocket, and they can try to make sure that they're winning the game in the trenches, they're not letting them run the ball the way that Rice is probably going to, they should handle this game. So I have Rice covering the spread by 2.5. I've got the odds there for you on DraftKings and FanDuel. It's up to you, whichever one you prefer. The next pick I have is going to be a Saturday game. This is going to be Tulane versus Ole Miss. Now, as much as I want to say that I think Tulane is going to win this game, I really don't. But I'm not 100% confident that Ole Miss is going to win the game, so I don't want to touch the spread of the money line. But what I do know is there's going to be a lot of scoring. Right now, Tulane is giving up over 30 points a game, while Ole Miss is averaging over 44 points a game, which I think means that Ole Miss is going to put up a ton of points against this Tulane defense. On top of that, Tulane is putting up over 28 points per game. If each of these teams just puts up their average points per game, we are going to hit the over at 61.5. Whether you're using DraftKings or FanDuel, this is going to be a minus 105 odds. I think that's decent value, and I consider this a fairly safe pick. While that feels like a pretty safe pick, this next one's going to feel a little bit dangerous. I'm taking Oklahoma minus 6.5 against conference rival Auburn. Auburn was able to go and get a fairly impressive win in week 1 against Baylor, but this was mostly off of the legs of their quarterback Jackson Arnold. He threw less than 100 yards, I think, but he had over 150 on the ground. I don't think that he's going to be able to do this at all against Oklahoma. Oklahoma has only given up 7 of 48 third down conversions, and I think that Jackson Arnold is going to have to throw the ball against them, and he has not shown in his years at Oklahoma and now at Auburn that he can do that. Another thing is that Auburn's defense is not very good. They had 17 missed tackles against Baylor, and they had 13 missed tackles against South Alabama, which is a game that they should have manhandled and didn't. I think now that Brent Venables has taken over calling the offense this year, and they have their Heisman hopeful John Mateer at quarterback, I think they're going to light up Auburn, especially with this absolutely lackluster secondary that has given up a lot of big plays this season. This one, I'm just taking the normal spread at minus 6.5 points, but honestly, I think they might blow them out. And with that, we're done with college football for now. All right, let's move on to the NFL, and we are going to Sunday's lineup. The first game I want to talk about is the Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I have this game under points. You may think that that's kind of crazy because the under sits at 44.5. But not once you start looking into it. Jacksonville took on the Cincinnati Bengals last week, who are a terrible defense. Their secondary is absolutely suspect, and they're barely stopping the run. Now, they only put up 27 points against that defense. They're going up against the Houston Texans defense this week, who has given up the 3rd least amount of points in the league through the first 2 weeks. I think that 27, they'd be wildly lucky to get to that number. On top of that, they're having drop issues with Brian Thomas. Travis Hunter has looked average at best on both sides of the ball. I just don't think that this offense is going to get going. Their defense got kind of lit up against Cincinnati, but I think that Jake Browning just kind of has that game once a year when Burrow goes down. Moving over to the other side of the ball, we have the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans offense has not looked good. Everybody who drafted Nico Collins in the first round of fantasy knows exactly what I'm talking about. Their offensive line is abysmal. They're just putting random dudes out there in front of CJ Stroud, and it's not going well for this quarterback. Last week, I saw a bunch of people betting against the Houston Texans total points, just their team, and they were absolutely right. And I think this week, You could do that again, but I'm going to take the whole game. I think this is going to be a super ugly game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. I don't think anybody's going to really want to watch it, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of it on Red Zone because I don't think either of these teams is going to spend a lot of time there. So I feel pretty safe taking the under. The next Sunday NFL game that we're going to take is the 49ers taking on the Cardinals. I think the 49ers are going to cover the -2.5 point spread. While the Cardinals are 2-0, they've barely pulled out wins against the Panthers and the Saints, who are widely considered the two worst teams in the league. The 49ers are playing scrappy. I know Brock Purdy's out, but Mac Jones threw for 279 and 3 touchdowns against the Saints defense and looked better than Kyler Murray did. Not to mention the Cardinals defense has not looked all that great. Like I said, we go off stats, research, and vibes, and I feel bad vibes for the Cardinals on this one. I really think that the 49ers are going to start picking up steam. I think Mac Jones is looking pretty decent right now, and their defense, it's the 49ers defense. Everybody wants to talk about how with the Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. has not been getting targets. They're saying, oh, we're 2-0. It doesn't matter. Well, it's going to matter this week when you're playing a much better defense, especially in the run game, and who especially is going to key Kyler Murray and not let him run the way he has the past 2 weeks. 1 unit on this, and that's just my opinion. This last one is a scrappy pick. It's an underdog pick. The underdog pick worked last week. I said the Buccaneers were going to beat the Texans, and hey, look at that. I believed in the psychopath that is Baker Mayfield, and it worked. So I'm believing in the psychopath that is Drake May. I'm just kidding. He seems like a really nice guy. But I do think that the Patriots are a much better matchup against the Steelers this week than people are giving them credit for, especially the sportsbooks. The Steelers are, I believe, a 1.5 point favorite, but I just want to take the money line here because the Patriots are already an underdog. Because they're underdogs, their odds right now on DraftKings are going to be plus 105 and on FanDuel are going to be plus 110. That is a great value for what I think is a much more even matchup than the books are giving. Right now, the Steelers on defense alone have 6 players that may not play this week. 4 look very unlikely, 2 look maybe. On top of that, their rush defense was already terrible this week against the Seahawks and was a big part of why they lost. Now pair that up with the fact that the Patriots are coming off of a game where they finally established the run and were able to get it going with Antonio Gibson and Ramondre Stevenson. I think it looks good for them. Drake May is coming out as an ice cold killer, and I think that he's looking better. His confidence is growing each week, and with them actually getting the run game going to help open things up for him, I think that this is a week that he can go and take down the Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. Personally, I think that this game, the Steelers are only favored because of Aaron Rodgers, just for his name, even though he's been nothing but inconsistent for the first 2 weeks. I like the Patriots money line. It's the best value of any of the picks I've given so far, 1 unit. All right, now, last week I gave you a half unit fun bet. It did not go so well. The Cowboys did not win by over 9.5 points, but if you were watching that game, if you put money on that, dude, that was the craziest game I've ever seen. So why not put another half unit fun bet? And again, this does not count against the 7 picks that I just gave you. With this half unit fun bet, we're going to move back into college football. I said earlier that we were done with college football for now, and that's because we're coming right back to it. My half unit fun bet is going to be the Army versus North Texas game, and I'm taking the underdog, Army. North Texas is coming off a huge win against Washington State, and I think that they're going to have a big lull going into this week. Army came off of a terrible upset where they lost to FCS school Tarleton State and was able to pull out a win where they completely controlled the line of scrimmage in the rush game against Big 12 Kansas State. Now, while Kansas State is not having a great season, I think that they're still a very similar caliber to North Texas. I think that if Army is able to do what they did against Kansas State, they're able to control the line of scrimmage, they're able to run the ball, keep extended drives. I think Kansas, they said they only had like 6 possessions in the entire game or something. It was a crazy number. If they're able to do anything similar to that in this game against North Texas, go Mean Green, they are going to win this game outright. They are right now a plus 120 underdog on DraftKings. I'm not sure what FanDuel is. I'll have it up on the screen. You'll see it. But I think that this is great value. I think that right now North Texas is being overvalued because of their big win against Washington State. But I think that the Pac-2 is awful right now. So anybody beating them doesn't tell me much. So this is a half unit fun bet. I think it's great value, especially because you can take a half unit and get over a unit back. That's really cool. But like I said, this does not count for the 7 picks that go towards one of you winning $100 if you comment on this video. So make sure you comment on this video. You do not have to care about this game. This is just a fun one. It's my opinion. If you want to tell me, let me know in the comments. Guys, it's free to comment. Like I said last episode, the easiest no sweat bet that you get for watching this show is that you just comment on this episode, and that gives you a chance to win $100 for free. Nothing. All you had to do was type something. Just say, "Hi, Ace. What's up, Ace? That was a terrible bet last week, Ace. I lost my house because the Chiefs and Eagles didn't go over." I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But like I said, that's the half unit fun bet. I'm going to try and get one of those every week. I think it's a fun thing to do. And what are we doing here? We're just trying to have fun, guys. Remember, we're not betting to make money or change our lives. We're betting to have fun. I'm so excited that last week we went 5 for 7. I'm going to keep a running tally. I'm going to put it on the screen, and I'm hoping that we can do better this week. I'm so excited, guys. I'm trying really hard to get these picks right because I really want one of you to get this $100. But until next time, I've been Ace. Thank you so much for watching episode 3 of Big Bet Energy. If you like it, please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next week.